about you, don't you, don't you? You're so vain. You
Bless me.
probably think the song is about you. You're so vain. You probably think the song is about you. Don't you? Don't you? You have the camera?
Yeah.
Wait, for some reason my camera is not. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, I think it's using the wrong camera. Here we go. Yep, there we go. What's going on, General?
Not much. Not much.
Yeah, buddy. So we just got to do another rundown.
Yeah.
Sorry, fans out there. My co-host here, Captain Juvius, didn't catch when I wasn't capturing the gameplay the other day and tell me. So we're gonna do this again. This time, let me know if you're not seeing the actual display.
Okay.
Yeah, buddy. So this is basically a tutorial rundown for the new app, the J Universus app. Um, you know what? Let me double check something, make sure it's actually. Let me close that out, and let me open this up. I want to make sure that it's going to run properly. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I was just laughing at just how childish people can be.
Indeed.
Going back to our podcast list. Um, Obsession is a scary thing. When people want to believe something, well, I guess when you're small minded and you come from a small place, you really want to believe that you're at the center of attention. So you just look for things.
Indeed.
Let's see here. Trying to see if I can pull this up. For some strange reason, it's tell you what. So I'll put that there. Close that. Open my desktop. It's just that file I was telling you about, the JSON file that generates. I'm trying to locate it because if you don't find and delete it, then it's going to continue to give you a blank player list. And so I'm trying to make sure it's not getting in the way. All right.
And give me 1 second.
So I'll pull this up here. We're gonna pull this up. All right.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I can see the app.
No, what you're seeing is the web page. This is the link to the source code page on my website that
Mhm.
has. Is that what you see? Do you know what you're seeing?
Yeah, the link to the app.
Yeah, you should see a web page, right?
Yes.
It should be scrolling. Might be scrolling. Is it scroll to the top now? Where's the source code? Or is it not moving when I scroll it? You see?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. Hold on one second. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Are you seeing it scroll on your end?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had sent you the rundown of the rule set.
Hmm.
Let's see. It was, I think I did. So basically, this app is like a grand
Hmm.
tour of various athletes and heroes competing in basically a tournament of seven
Hmm.
major sports
Hmm.
and dream matches.
Hmm.
So in this app, you use a pair of dice, and you use a collection of 27 cards per player
Hmm.
for the total rosters for the teams. Now, here in the rule set over here, um, on this website, it says this is a digital sports simulator card game, um, and you select a roster of 15 to 27 cards. The reason why the 15 was here is because you can do, originally it was only five sports, and you
Hmm.
still can do five of the seven, but the total game um, is comprised of seven sports. So
Hmm.
really, essentially, it's going to be 27 players, 27 cards per player, because you when you add it up basically for all the sports, the 7-on-7 for football and for soccer, and then the 5-on-5 for hockey and basketball, and then the 1-on-1s with tennis, boxing, and wrestling, you're going to have a total of 27 cards. So
I see.
that's all preset in the game, but it was 15 to 27 based off the old format of the five sports because it didn't originally have soccer, and I believe I added soccer, and um, I think the last two that were added was hockey and football actually. So those weren't originally in the game until this last version. So this game features a roster of generic slots,
Hmm.
but also it has, I believe, 76
Hmm.
characters, which is a good amount. It's a good enough amount for you to collect, to basically have a lot of the roster in your collection, but not so much that it eliminates needing to strategize and use the generic setup. And that's why I kind of wanted to leave it how it is when it comes to the roster,
Hmm.
because originally I was trying to continue adding until the roster was big enough that it had basically every major card or player, but with the rule set of the game, it's better for
Hmm.
it to have a limited roster, because then you use your generic sets or your generic classes for your non-featured cards in order to have you basically strategize with offense, defense, clutch, and accuracy. And then you have your light, middle, and heavyweight classes. And so you're filling your rosters, and then when you start the game,
Hmm.
for every card that you have that's not in the roster, you select, you argue for basically a generic slot in a type. So say you want accuracy because you feel like strategically that's best for you, and that this card, I feel that he's an accuracy generic heavyweight. Your opponent can counter argue, and you roll for it. And so whoever wins that role, um, that character gets set as that generic type. Now, if your
Mhm.
opponent challenges you and says, "No, I don't agree that your card is a offense heavy,"
Mhm.
and you roll and he loses, now you can take one of his cards and make it a generic type. So it
Mhm.
can backfire. So it makes you a little hesitant to challenge, um, and it adds that extra element. And it can also backfire that you can select somebody's generic type, and it can work against you, because that happened in one game that we ran where we rolled. I lost the roll. My opponent selected like I think it was like a generic clutch middleweight or something like that. It was like a lighter
Mhm.
weight class than he should have been, and it ended up working in my benefit because that matchup favored me, and so I ended up winning the match. So it
Mhm.
could go different directions. You really have to think carefully before you pick and before you counter pick.
Mhm.
So um, let's see what we got here. So now what I'm going to do here is
Mhm.
switch over to the actual app. Um, so basically, that rule set is given on the website here. It gives you a link as well. As you can see here, download the exe file. That gives you the exe file download for Windows, and
Mhm.
this gives you the Android file to download to your phone. It's a little trickier downloading this file because of the fact that you have to sideload it,
Mhm.
and you have to have a version of Android that supports SDK 33.
Mhm.
Um, some devices won't, because that's the highest limit that I could actually compile this file at. There isn't an SDK 35 out yet for Python to Android, so you can't meet the standard for the Google Play Store at this time if you're downloading a Python. If you're constructing a Python application and you're uploading it to the Google Play Store,
Mhm.
it's not Python friendly. Basically, Google Play is geared for development done on Google or
Mhm.
development done through Java or other platforms. But if you make your program with Python, they're not Python friendly at all. So they make it really hard to get a Python built app on Google Play Store.
I
So
see.
because of that, right now at least you have to sideload this. So that's just to forewarn anybody that downloads the APK file. You sideload it. You add the permissions on your phone for unpublished applications,
Mhm.
and at that point you should be able to run it as long as your system specs allow.
I see.
But the exe file can work similarly because they have applications that can let you use use them basically as a wrapper or a container that
Mhm.
houses the Windows file. So that's how I run it on my phone, and actually that's probably the best way to do it. Is you just run the native exe file on a wrapper container like WinLater or WinXLater. Those applications let you create a container, load the exe file in there on your phone, and load it just as if your phone were a Windows computer. It's
Mhm.
actually very easy to do. We can even do a video about that at a later time, because you download that on your phone from the app store like a regular app, and then you open it, you create a container, and all you have to do is download this exe file to your phone,
Mhm.
and you place it in your doesn't really matter what folder you place it in either. You can place it in your download folder, wherever it is, and you go and search through the container in that app, and you find whatever Windows file you download, and it'll open it with no problem at all.
Mhm.
I found that's the best way to do it, because when I use the side loader and when I use other methods to open it, I found that sometimes um, it wasn't giving me a windowed file, so I would open the file and then I wouldn't be able to scroll. or would give me like a truncated version of it. So it was giving me a lot of issues. So
Mm.
that's something that we're going to get into probably a little later on. Now, what we can do is we can get down to business.
Mm.
I know you wanted to see how the app functions. So what we're going to do here is this is the app here. Are you able to see it on your screen?
Yes.
There it is. So I'll give you a rundown of the layout. On the side is a scroll bar. Up here is your export transcripts. This allows you to export the entire dialogue for the whole match in one Word file so you can review everything that happened. I kind of like that feature because it lets you review any discrepancies there might be in the game. And this is your progress bar down here. It's a little funny, but it does the trick mostly. Up here you have your sport selector, you have your modifications for the sport, and you have your simulate button. Down here you have your teams section with player one, player two, and you have your rosters, which is preset according to the sport. Like you'll see if I switch from basketball, which is 5-on-5 here, to boxing, it'll switch to one-on-one. If I switch to tennis, that's a one-on-one. And you'll see here you can set your sets to 3 sets, 5 sets.
Mm.
If I switch over here to wrestling, once again it's one-on-one. That is already preset. I didn't really put in options to modify that.
Mm-hmm.
And then soccer 7-on-7, it switches up again. That's also preset because according to a 90-minute soccer match. Football, once again, that's set to a standard football length game, and that's 7-on-7 again. And then switch down to hockey. That's 5-on-5. That's preset. And then if you come down here, you'll see this add or edit a player section. This is the section that was function. It functions now, but the reason why it's not really usable at this time is because of the save file issue. Because I can make a player say, if I put you in here and I put you with your stats, it's also limited so that when you make a player, you can't just generate an OP player and throw them in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's limited. So it was an added feature to allow you to kind of add players that weren't already on the roster. And so I put this add, and it chooses your specialization for you because according to what your strengths are and what you have a high rating in, if it's
Mm-hmm.
power, if it's speed, it'll decide whether you're a playmaker, whether you're clutch, whether you're offensive. And those are kind of preset already in the background algorithm too. So you don't have to worry about designating those. So you automatically, based on what I selected, you would be considered a specialization playmaker. So now you're saved. If I come up here and I come down to select your name, there you are. And also, if you click this view button next to your selected player,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're seeing this extra box here.
The
Do you
you
see
said
this?
extra.
Is
Oh
there
wait,
extra
I
box?
yeah.
Okay, so this box will show you those stats that you set. Um, your weight class, your specialization, and there's even a delete here where you can delete the player.
Now the power and stamina, A is highest and B is lowest, right?
No, you have A, then B. S is actually the highest. It's not selectable in the edit or add player section because it's cut off to prevent imbalance when adding a player. Because if I left that in, you can add a player generically that you want to put in the game and make them all S's.
Mm.
and then throw them in the game and then throw the whole match off because, you know, of a
So
created character.
so A, B, and S.
So you have S, A, B, and then D class.
So from highest to lowest, which one goes in order? So there's A,
S is your
B, D, and
highest.
F.
S is your highest for S tier,
Mm-hmm.
and then D is the lowest, just like with normal ranks: A rank, B rank, D
Right.
rank,
And
like
then B is
ranks.
considered normal.
B, not necessarily. I mean, B is like it would be like considered like mid to a certain extent because it's in between an A class and a D class.
And then A is for excellent.
It would be a upper tier type class. It's just below S tier. S tier is your highest specialization class.
I see. Okay. All right. Because I'm writing down the notes. I'm listening and I'm writing down the notes so that I can
Mhm.
remember.
And then you'll see here. Let me see if I can. Let me close that out first. You'll see up here these generic classes I was talking about. You have accuracy at the top because everything is alphabetical anyway. So you have your accuracy generic class, heavy, light, mid. This is the one that you choose it. It's geared towards accuracy. So you'll see the accuracy in this is 9. Now the tiers that you see here, the SBA D, they're ranges. So they generate numerical randomized ranges between a certain value. So your S tier is going to generate 9 to 10. Your A tier is going to generate, I believe, between 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
Your B tier is going to generate 6 to 8. And your D tier is going to generate, I believe, 1 to 5. I could be off, but it's like basically their ranges between 1 and 10 based on your. So if you're A tier, you're not necessarily going to be an exact number. You're going to be within a range. So you could have two A tier stats that one's 9, one's 8,
Mm-hmm.
but they're both A tier. So
I
here
see.
you'll see this person or this generic class has high accuracy and everything else is kind of
Mm-hmm.
mid to low, like Claude. So I could select that for a roster spot if this was the card that was a non-roster. Then I select somebody else, like I select Adrian Peterson,
Mm-hmm.
and say I want to select Bret Hart, random people, Andy Murray, Brock Lesnar. Then I could have a second team, and I could choose Alex Rodriguez. I could choose um, Cam Newton. I can choose Giannis Antetokounmpo, Dennis Rodman. And the thing is, it's balanced in the sense that if you can't like skirt around um, when somebody has a specialization. Like I had a tennis player, and my opponent picked somebody that was a good athlete but not a tennis player,
Mm-hmm.
and my player was also a female, and so he
Mm-hmm.
thought, okay, he should trump her. But being that that's her specialization, she ended up winning, dominating fashion in a tennis matchup. Even though you may have a chance, it takes into consideration the fact that somebody has a specialization. Like playing a one-on-one basketball game with Michael Jordan, you could have a great athlete. You could have somebody like, um, I don't know, it could be, I'm trying to think of who, Novak Djokovic. It could be somebody who's a great athlete, but he's not going to have the advantage because Michael Jordan is a basketball player. So that's gonna come out in the simulation too. So
Mhm.
like see here, I picked a simulation for a basketball game with a generic character, um, a tennis player, and a couple of wrestlers versus a baseball player, football player, and then three basketball players. Let's run that, and then you'll see the readout here. Adrian Peterson calls for a pick and roll, slips on it. They're going to game one. Generic calls for heavy pick and roll. Series is 0-2. Andy Murray calls for pick and roll, slips the rim for easy layup. Brock Lesnar calls for pick and roll. Signature backstep deep. Andy Murray isolates, size of the defender. Boom. Now this gives you the whole readout. And the final score is Team 2, which had three basketball players on it. They win the series 4-2.
Mm.
So even though you had some good stats on this side, there's still the consideration that there's three great basketball players on this team. So that's going to make a difference. So it's not overly random to where you put together a good deck for a sport and you lose. No, if you put together a good sport strategically, like when I'm playing, I usually save my basketball play because I have pretty good cards. I'll save them for the basketball sport, and I try to be very selective with how I use them in other sports because I want to make sure my best ball players are in the basketball game because it will make a difference. And then you play, and then 9 times out of 10, you're going to dominate if you have the better basketball squad.
Mhm.
So it does do dream matchups where crazy things can happen, but it still considers reality.
Hmm. So basically, this is like a what if type of scenario,
Yep,
and you have to win the scenario and see if
that's
what team
exactly
wins the scenario.
that's exactly how this started because we were sitting down and we were having a discussion about what ifs, like dream matchups. Like, man, would it be crazy if, like, what would happen if so and so were to play so and so, or what if that team played that team? And it was kind of intriguing. And we were even like using Chat GPT and we were like looking up like scenarios. And, some of the results we were seeing were kind of crazy. We're like, who could beat Shaq in a one on one? And we were like, I don't know, probably LeBron. But then we found a lot of people actually would lose to him. But then people that you wouldn't think would beat him would dominate him, like
Hmm.
Kareem. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And it was giving an explanation when it considered all the information that it has on the players that why the reason why like 5 times out of 7 um,
Hmm.
Kareem would beat Shaq.
Hmm.
What if there was a simulator where we could set these kind of matches up with the same kind of data and then see who would win in all sorts of different matchups. And I said, I should build something like that. And that's what made me decide to build this app. I said, let me just build this. On top of the fact that we started collecting cards,
Hmm.
and you notice that there's a huge selection of cards that go completely missed in the card store. You go in the card store, there's hundreds and probably thousands of cards that no one's even collecting because there's no reason, especially if there's not a high value in the card, like market wise. There's no real reason that people have to collect all these cards. So I'm like, what if there were a game that added value to it, that made it worth it to have these cards? And so that's when
Hmm.
I kind of pitched the idea to the store owner. And I said, you know what, I'm thinking about developing something like that. And that's what started this. So now I just need advertisement. If we can do a commercial, we'd be good to go.
The only thing I can really say is that this is a really good idea. This is really good, but you have to be very careful because remember,
Licensing.
y- yeah,
I was wondering about that. I was wondering about that because I don't know. I was wondering if you're allowed to use the namesakes or if that would be a licensing issue.
I think that would be a licensing issue. Like you
You think?
can't. you can't really like it would be in the same principle of like characters and things like that, because let's just say for example you you did do that, and a team or somebody felt offended, like somebody really high like the NBA or whatever, and they felt offended, or Michael Jordan or whoever felt offended, and or whatever, and they then and you felt like you were infringing on them because they were like a licensed person, their whole thing is licensed, and then they could sue
Mm.
you for it, they could sue you possibly,
You
but
know, it's a shame, but that's a good point. I mean, because the thing is, I'm going to see if there's a workaround with that because it's unfortunate because that's the reason why I don't want to build a roster too big because now I have the option of going with the generic character option,
mhm,
where there are no direct names. I guess that's the reason why when people develop games, they usually do that to avoid that licensing issue. But I thought
yeah,
that because there's no depiction,
mhm.
there's no depiction of these players. There's that using their namesakes should be fair play. But I mean, you're right. Maybe it would present an issue.
Yeah, because it's like the same thing as if someone were to be like, well, I wouldn't mind, but as long as they would let me know. But some people are a little touchy on it. Is that if they were using my characters and they were doing a versus, I wouldn't be too I wouldn't be too happy about it, and might get me right to to sue probably if I wanted to.
Well, here's the counter argument that I would bring up, though.
Hmm.
I'm not stealing recorded footage, and I'm not stealing licensed material as far as media goes, as far as like music, likenesses, like pictures. And someone who had a game, say you had SmackDown for the PlayStation, you could
Yeah.
create, and people often do, like even with Fight Night, people created boxers that weren't in the game. They made Floyd Mayweather because for some reason he wasn't in other boxing games. There's certain boxers that refuse to be in Fight Night or that weren't in certain sports games that people
Hmm.
create the character, name them, and put them in the game, and they even upload them to the servers to be downloaded by other players. Now, the fact that that's allowed is will be my argument because why is that not policed? Why is that okay for them to do that and then upload it to servers to be re-downloaded? Why are they not in trouble? If I can't make something where it's my own creation, but I'm just using their namesake. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you might be right, but I would counter it with that argument because
Hmm.
I've seen it done in other games, especially Fight
Hmm.
Night, where people create players and athletes that aren't in the game and they upload them to the servers. I've downloaded them. I've downloaded several boxers that aren't in the game that people made. Or
Hmm.
you might make some people created like Michael Jackson, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and they created them as characters in Fight Night, gave them
Hmm.
the face and everything, and then threw them on the servers to be downloaded.
Because then I think with that it's a little different, because I know it sounds like a double standard, which kind of could be, but the reason why it's able to go through is because the other person's creating it. It's not like you like had it. Like I'll give you an instance. Like let's say you use a Barack Obama. Like you couldn't do that as the creator because that could lead to different things possibly. And then, but if someone else does it and things like that, and
Oh,
you,
you're saying so it can't be the person that produced the software that does like if it's a player that's doing it or if it's a
yeah,
gamer that's doing it.
yeah, like you know how like you can like have different avatars and things like that. It's almost like that, and kind of could, and somehow it kind of like has a loophole almost, kind of like where you could, because you're making an avatar and things like that. So someone else is creating it. But if it was somewhere where it was like full blown official, like you had everything and the likeness, the details, and everything, and that's the things that like wrestling. and things like that. Some of them don't look accurate as they should be, but they try their best to make them accurate, and then they look silly, But we know what they were trying to go for, but that kind of saves them.
You know what? That's a good point. That is a good point. And I wonder if I would have to go to the if I could go through the card companies or if I would have
Hmm.
to go through the actual NBA. I'm gonna ask about that.
Actually, let's see, because Gemini may be able to tell me. Let's see. Okay, can you use and wait? I as a game
Looks
with.
like we have a 3 minute time left on the clock.
Do you want to take it to Streamyard?
We possibly could do that. Yes, I don't like the way StreamYard is set up. It's kind of weird, but we could try that.
Do you want me to
If you
make it
set
and
it up,
then?
can you send it to me if you set it up? Like if you
Yeah.
if you set it up after we record, you can send the file.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how that would work, but
Yeah. Just all I have to do is I pre-record it and then it saves it and then I can just send it to you.
yeah, we can do that briefly. This has been a good informative discussion. I know all the trolls are going to be scraping through the vid. Oh, when is he going to talk about me?
All
Never been talked about once, but in their minds they're being talked about. But yeah, let's jump on StreamYards.
right. I'll
Let me
set it
stop
up.
this. Okay.
All right.
The last general who ever lived.
Mhm.
Ugh. So we left off with the legality issue with the app. I was trying to I was trying to load up an emulation, but I can't do it on this computer. I have to do it with my other setup.
Mhm.
But basically, so you were going to put together an advertisement for a generic.
Yeah. I got some characters. I made 7 so far for the hockey. So basically, you have 72. So it goes down, breaking it down to 7 times 10, so 10 sports. I added a little bit extra, which makes it 70. The 2 extra slots can be DLC and the added characters that you want to make yourself.
Um, I do like that concept that you mentioned about DLC because that's actually a good workaround to allow for licensed characters. I was looking it up a little bit more
Uh-huh.
between videos, and I did see that yeah, that can become it's true, it can become an issue. Um, it's really a shame. It really
It,
is like ridiculous. It really is highly insane. Um, let's see what I was going to do here. But they say what happens is when you start to monetize things and you
mm,
try, and you also make um, paywall content and additional stuff like that to squeeze customers, that's when the lawsuits will start popping up because they're looking at money that they should be. Basically, you're making money off of their likeness.
yeah.
That was never going to be an issue with this app because I never planned on really making it a monetized situation. It was more about getting exposure for the cards that already exist. But yeah, can't seem to find the. emulator that I wanted to bring up all of a sudden. Um, okay, here goes a folder. Well, I don't even have the peripherals that I need. But, you know, so essentially,
Mm-hmm.
looking at the app's current setup, you have these drop down. You have this drop down. There goes the character I made for you. There goes a Marvel character. So even fictitious characters like Marvel characters would
Mm.
have to would have to basically be eliminated, right? Because of licensure issues.
Yeah, like franchises and brands. Yeah, you gotta eliminate all of it unless you created them yourself.
Well, there are no brands in franchise. The only thing that isn't here are names. So I guess um, because of that, I can always strip that though. Looking at the roster, you know, I
Mm.
can even make a separate version with all the stats that are available for if people want to copy the template and maybe get it from me, then they can upload it into their own copy, which would eliminate me putting it in.
That's true. You could do that.
I could do that and basically sell the base version that has no um, licensed characters. That's an option.
True. Um, what
It's
else?
irritating, but it's an option.
What else is there? I wrote down a few notes that I thought maybe be interesting. I thought you might be interested in. Um, so there's 70. As I said, there's 72 characters, 7 characters per sport for 10 sports. So the sports we have so far is hockey, wrestling, baseball, football, basketball, boxing, soccer, tennis, extreme sports, and racing. Um, I have, I put, I put down the game's mechanics, like you said, a simulation. But what if it was like a simulation where you can spectate the actual card fights, and then you can place your bets on it and things like that. Like that would be pretty cool. Or like you
Well,
have like an art. Uh huh.
you can do that to an extent. I mean, the one of the versions that I made of the game had actual visuals to the matchups, but it was giving me a lot of issues and it was crashing a lot. So I rolled back to this version. But there was a version I made that in the side panel over here, there were visuals that like assisted the whole matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a good concept though. Basically, spectating, and that's pretty much what it's designed to do anyway, is that you're basically putting together dream matches or real matches that are happening, and you could simulate and see what's likely to happen in a playoff matchup, say, so to speak. That's what makes it kind of useful too.
Mm-hmm.
Is even people that are hardcore enthusiasts that maybe play fantasy sports, they can use it and they can simulate real matchups ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be difficult now if it comes down to the licensure issue.
Mm-hmm. Um,
That's going to be
I,
difficult.
that it is, but I'm sure if you get enough money, I'm sure you'll get it to at some point and get some of them as DLC. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I wrote down add-ons. You could do brackets and tournaments. Teams. We talked about the DLC. We have like the special cards where they're like low, normal, rare, special slash legendary, and then a story mode.
Mm, I like that. I like the story mode.
Mm. And the mechanics, there's time attack, and then there's Dead Man's Round, which is you keep going until there's no more cards left, until all the cards are defeated.
Mm,
It's a good one.
that is a
Um,
good one.
um, let's see. Now, now I thought about this, and I think definitely the characters to keep it condensed because there's a lot of cards and a lot of things you could pick. Um, definitely stick to five per team because that would make things much more better. Um, but I was thinking that you could use AI, but what you do with it is that you can add the drawings and scenes, and then the AI can make it into the different scenes and different scenarios depending for different images.
Could you put together small clips that make up the different scenarios, or just simple little 2-3 second clips,
Yeah,
animations?
yeah,
Maybe a couple for each sport.
yeah. I mean, I could do that, but but I was saying, for like, if you're like if AI
Mm.
if AI does it, then I mean, it could get a little technical, but if it's worked out right, it could make a whole lot of different scenarios and different other images, depending. But that's tricky. I don't know a whole lot about AI like that. So for the meantime, I can do the animations and things like that. I can do the drawings and things like that, which is fine. Um, and then I was thinking that instead of people doing like like um their own power, like A, B, D, and S, they do like a little Q&A, and the computer will, based on the questions, the computer will randomize it, and it will give them the exact thing that makes you who you are, stamina wise or whatever
Now you see,
strategy in life.
that is actually something that I wanted to do in the beginning, but yes, it does require building sort of and I wanted to do that, to start building small AI engines. I
Hmm.
was looking into that a while ago because that's what it would require to do something like that. And I was originally going to try that. I was going to try to make an engine where you can describe the character or answer certain questions or prompts, and it would generate the appropriate character with the right stats, and then they'd be in the roster like that. That would be cool.
Hmm.
So I'm going to see if I can work on that going forward. But that is something that would require a little bit of AI programming,
Yeah.
which I'm still trying to learn that. I mean, I don't really have that
The only
yet.
way that you could actually do it is if you make your own AI, which I don't know how you would do
But
that,
that's the
but
whole thing. You're making an AI engine. That's what it is.
mhm. um, but those
That'll be
were
my next goal.
mm, definitely. Um, yeah, I was. Yeah, these were just the little notes that I jotted down. I thought that maybe you might be interested in.
So that's what I'll start doing then. I will work on. You can send that to me in email form,
Yeah.
and what I'll do is I'm going to start stripping down a different version, a bare bones version of the current game,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really sad that you run into these things. It's really ridiculous, actually. But everybody wants their little money, so
Yeah. Um.
well, it could. It's too bad that it can't be kind of like, okay, if we tie it down with advertising, similar to YouTube, where it's licensed material and content, but if it's behind advertisement or whatever, and they do something to monetize it or whatever the case may be, they allow you to still showcase it without a penalty. It'd be
Mhm.
nice if that something like that was an option.
Mhm. That would be nice. Um. I don't know.
Because it does sort of take away a little bit from the core idea when I strip professional characters from the game, because that was the whole premise, was to create dream matchups and um, scenarios and see what it would be like if your favorite athlete went into another sport and they face somebody. Like that was the whole idea.
Mhm.
So I would like if there was a way to legally get that done.
Mm. I mean, you have to. If I mean, there is a way to do it, but you have to
You just
again.
got to go
You have
crawl into
money.
these people. Well, I don't
Yeah.
get.
Uh huh.
I'm getting clearance. I don't think always require. I think they might put a money wall up depending on who you are, because it's the
Mm.
same thing with when it comes to music. Like I did a song, I did a track years ago that used um, instrumentals from Bob James.
Mhm.
Now, for me, he gave me a hard time. He didn't want to clear it. He didn't want to let me use it. It had to be stripped down. I had to completely reformat the whole album and re-release it. But then I turn around and I'm looking at all these other artists that he's happy to let use his backing instrumentals. And he was
Mm.
bragging about it in an interview that he does. And I'm like, wow. So what was the difference with me? Because he didn't charge them anything. He wanted them to. So it depends on what platform, I guess, that you have.
Mhm.
If you're in the right position, they'll happily let you use their likeness. But if you're not positioned a certain way, they'll give you more of a hard time. I guess maybe I don't have the level of exposure that those guys had. So he's like, well, there's no real profit in it, so I'm not letting this guy use it. Even though there's
Mm.
no harm in it, they
Mhm.
operate based on greed.
That's true. But it's okay.
It's all
You
good
always
though.
have your own tracks and things like that. You're a good musician, so.
In fact, what I'll do is I'll make a totally different version of the game that isn't even um well, I'll leave the sports in, but I'll
Mhm.
just make, or I don't know, it depends. I'm trying to think of different ways I could do it where I can make it completely universal, where it's every kind of matchup.
Mm. If you really want to do that, like I said, do DLC. Definitely do DLC.
Hmm. Yeah.
The last thing you want is you want a knock at your door, and next thing you know, the lawyers are there asking for their JG Wentworth money.
You sound like you experienced
Nah,
that.
not. I'll never do that. I'll never go through an experience like that. I know for a fact that if a lawyer does do that, then I mean, at least I can have a legal team at that time. Hopefully.
Well, I've seen it happen to people. I remember years ago, I was telling people I'm not heavy into sampling
Hmm.
because I said I really don't like the idea of taking licensed material or taking like pre-made material and then uh, sampling on top of it or cutting it up. And people used to argue with me that, oh no, that's the thing, everybody's doing it. and they were big on it. And then years later, all of a
Huh.
sudden you start having these new laws that make it real tight when it comes to using samples, and now you have a lot of people getting their content stripped. That's why I went through that in the first place. That track that I did that he ended up not clearing, I wasn't even going to make that track with his stuff. It's just I kept getting pressure from people saying that that's the industry norm is to use popular samples. And I was more so I like to either recreate
Huh.
another my own version of a sample or
Mhm.
just make a totally unique track. Like I never liked the idea of taking samples. And
Mm.
because I gave into that pressure, it came back to bite me.
Mm.
But now you see you really can't use anything that is licensed or belongs in any way to somebody else. It's like everything's super strict now.
Yeah, because that's
I,
just how people are. They be biting stuff, and it's not cool.
I just hope that they apply the same thing to me because I'm also a licensed artist as well. And I want to make sure I get every dime for my material. I don't want to see anything of mine pop up that I didn't approve. I better get the
Mm.
same calls to clear stuff so I can give the same no that I received.
That's true. Um, there's something from I learned is I think it's an IP or something. You put that on your music, and then if someone tries to download it or whatever, it'll be traced and everything.
Well, the publishing companies handle all that.
Mm-hmm.
They once they get your stuff, they basically market it and protect it and do all the legal stuff behind the scenes. So I don't even take care of that stuff. They do that stuff for me.
Mm.
But they better be doing that though, because I don't want to see anything leak. I don't want to see anything where somebody makes their own project off of my stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna redo the whole thing basically and just remove any individual like content. It's gonna be completely generic.
Mm. Um, I
And one thing
made
is
some
I got to figure out a way to do that that'll work with cards though.
um, like make generic characters.
Well, rather than make generic characters, that'll be too tedious for now. But I mean, you could come up with some concepts for that. But what I wanted to do was just make generic types, and so make a fleshed out system similar to what I have here now, where you
Mm-hmm.
come in here and you see like defense generic, offense generic, clutch generic. I'll expound on that and do it in such a way that whatever character or cards you choose to play,
Mm-hmm.
there's a type for them.
Mm.
And so then
Mm-hmm.
um, basically you put them in play. The only thing about it is it's tough to balance that because to give it enough individuality to where it leaves value with the card because I do want the cards to have value. I want it to matter that you have this particular card. It shouldn't be that this card is identical to that card and it doesn't make a difference. So what's the point of collecting this versus that? Like that's the only thing that I'm trying to figure out.
Mm, I see.
I don't want it to be overly generic to where like collecting doesn't even matter.
Right. I made some characters like I said before. Hold on, let me see if I can show it. Let's see.
You should be able to share. Let me hold on.
That was the wrong one. Here we go. And then let's see.
Can
How
you
do
screen share?
no, like
Should be
how
able
do
to.
I, because I'm on my phone. I'm trying to see if I can flip
Oh,
the
okay.
camera. Oh wait, there it goes.
Skip.
There we go.
Ooh, okay. I like
So these are
baseball.
kind of like concepts, but I haven't really fleshed them out. But we got Jason, we got Olga, we got Scott, we got Red Ranger, we got Grover, and we got Danger, and then we have Spunk, but I haven't made him yet. And that was for the hockey.
Okay, I like that.
But, but yeah, so
There's a lot to think about.
yeah,
There's a lot to contemplate.
absolutely.
But yeah, we will have to reconvene this because I actually have another appointment coming up. And I will, yeah, in like 20 minutes. So let's pause this and let's work on that. And next time we come back, we can showcase our progress. I'll show you the new version of it by then. And we can figure out a way to make it work.
All right.
All right, General. I will see you later.
All right.
Watch a fool rush in, the safety net for my people, but I'm pulled too thin. What I paid for in blood, I gain a wisdom. Now it's a world where the intellect is just a victim. Running through 4 leagues, Fridays, the betting table. Find me where I lose myself, freely unable. Open my arms to respect and trust. When I can is when I must. Please trust. Don't focus on distractions, they keep the cycle going. Your mind is not in your work, that's why it's mind blowing. Remember the Lord, remember what I told you. Don't be afraid when you see the signs. You are the people, beautiful by design. You know you're equal. Live long enough to see the whole world drop. That's a heavy line when this world don't stop. God's my coat, say it not gotcha. Go back to your corner and tell them who shot you. I'm not simple, I'm simply just trying to live. I'm trying to give the people a side deck.